Imagine a world where war is not just an accident, but a carefully orchestrated machine, profiting from human suffering. Where millions die, cities burn, and yet, somewhere behind closed doors, some are counting dollars, not bodies. Donald Trump once boasted of ending 7 wars across the globe, from Cambodia to Kosovo, from Rwanda to India and Pakistan, conflicts that had already claimed countless lives. On stage, he sounded like a savior of peace, a man rewriting history. No other leader has done what I did in just 7 months, he claimed. But behind the curtain, the reality was far darker. While he spoke of peace, America's war machine was thriving like never before. Conflict, destruction, and chaos became profit engines. Deadly weapons fueled these battles, and the companies manufacturing them, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, watched their stock prices soar while the world burned. The truth is simple yet chilling. Wars are not just fought on battlefields. They are fought in boardrooms. Every explosion, every missile, every drop of blood became a business opportunity. While politicians sold the illusion of peace on television, investors watched their wealth multiply. War became the ultimate startup, and it was made in America. When Russian troops invaded Ukraine, U.S. weapons manufacturers didn't panic. They celebrated. America exported this model globally, supplying advanced weapons to countries like Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, fueling conflicts far from its shores. So, who really benefits when the world burns? And how did America create this billion-dollar war machine? How did politics, corporations, and military strategy intertwine to make conflict profitable? This story begins with a shock that shook the world. On December 7, 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. 2,400 Americans, soldiers, sailors, civilians, were killed. The U.S. had been a sleeping giant, uninterested in global conflict, ranking 19th in military strength, even behind Portugal. But Japan's expansion across Asia, from Korea to China, Vietnam, and Cambodia, forced America's hand. America's response was calculated. Trade restrictions, economic strangulation, and arming enemies of Japan. These were not acts of war, but of strategy. When diplomacy failed, the U.S. industrial beast awakened. Factories that once built cars now churned out tanks, planes, and bombs. Millions enlisted. The nation was mobilized like never before. Yet private companies were hesitant. War contracts required massive investments, millions of dollars, thousands of workers. But what if the war ended abruptly? Bankruptcy loomed. The U.S. government introduced a revolutionary solution: guaranteed profit contracts. Companies would recover costs plus a fixed profit, even if the war ended early. Ford built a bomber every hour. General Motors switched from trucks to tanks and planes. Boeing became a powerhouse of bombers. And then came the Manhattan Project, a $2 billion gamble, today equivalent to $30 billion, culminating in the atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Within months, Japan surrendered and World War II ended. But the war machine didn't stop. The U.S. had spent billions. The military-industrial complex was now the backbone of its economy, generating nearly 40% of GDP and employing 70 million Americans. Jobs, profits, and political power were now inseparable from war. Peace was no longer desirable. It was a threat. President Dwight Eisenhower warned the nation about this dangerous alliance between the military, corporations, and government. Yet the system only grew stronger. When peace returned, America simply invented new enemies: the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Communism became the global villain, and propaganda ensured public consent. Democracy, it seemed, could be engineered with fear. Vietnam was the first test of this post-war model. North and South Vietnam, divided and distant from American interests, suddenly became a moral battleground. The U.S. sent 530,000 soldiers, dropped 4 million tons of bombs over 10 years, and spent billions. Cambodia was bombed, unrelated to the war, simply because enemy soldiers used its territory for cover. For American soldiers, it was a nightmare. For corporations, it was a gold mine. Bell Helicopter produced 16,000 Hueys. Rathon earned $620 million in government contracts. Brown and Root built roads, ports, and bases, making $380 million. War was not a tragedy, it was an industry. After Vietnam, America's pattern became clear. First fund a dictator, like Saddam Hussein in Iraq, then intervene when he overreaches. Iraq, Afghanistan, Ukraine. The same model repeated: chaos for profit, wars justified as moral obligations, while millions suffered. Afghanistan is a testament to this model. $2 trillion spent over 21 years. Millions of lives disrupted. And yet the military-industrial complex thrived, corporations profited, and political narratives were maintained. Peace was never the goal. It was a byproduct, if it happened at all. As the world watched America wield its military might across continents, another storm was quietly brewing, one that would reveal the cracks in its global empire. In the past decade, more than half of all new wealth created globally has flowed into the hands of just 1% of the population. While the ultra-rich amassed fortunes by the hour, ordinary citizens face stagnating wages, rising costs, and growing disillusionment. America's military, once its greatest instrument of power, is now overstretched. By 2023, U.S. defense spending reached $916 billion, more than a third of the world's total. Its attempts to act as the world's policeman, sending troops and aid from Ukraine to Gaza, facing off with China, and intervening in conflicts across the globe, left the nation spread too thin. Despite decades of military dominance, the country now struggles to maintain its global commitments, and its armed forces are fewer than ever. Meanwhile, new threats emerged, not on the battlefield, but in the digital shadows. Sophisticated cyber attacks cripple critical infrastructure, from power grids to pipelines, causing billions in damages. The invisible hand of modern warfare is now as deadly as bombs. America's once solid alliances began to fray, treaties strained, and trade wars erupted, leaving even long-standing allies questioning its reliability. Internally, America faces fractures that no army can defend against. Healthcare fails millions, education declines, public debt soars past $36 trillion, and political polarization tears the nation apart. The richest continue to prosper while the vast majority fall behind, and social unrest simmers quietly beneath the surface. All of this paints a stark question. Can the nation that once claimed to be the world's protector sustain its empire? Or is America witnessing the slow unraveling of its golden age, a superpower stretched too far, both abroad and at home? Yet while empires falter under the weight of overreach, corruption, and inequality, another nation quietly writes a different story. India, a civilization shaped by millennia of trials, has faced invasions, colonial exploitation, and internal strife. Yet time and again, it has emerged stronger. Today, while global powers stumble, India demonstrates that true strength is not measured by bombs or borders, but by unity, vision, and the resilience of its people. This contrast is striking. Where others manipulate wars for profit, India turns adversity into opportunity. Where others sow division, India builds cohesion. And where others chase temporary power, India invests in enduring progress. It is a lesson in perseverance and foresight, showing that a nation's destiny is forged not by the greed of the few, but by the courage of the many. So we must ask ourselves, will we remain awake to the lessons of history, vigilant against those who seek to exploit chaos, and determined to secure a future of wisdom, courage, and true peace? Or will we let the world's greed dictate our path?